Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another segment of Jericho Road Inc. Well, Jericho Road Builders. Um, we have our illustrious Dr. Tamika Riley with us today. And what we're going to do is we're going to talk about paternity court and the importance of fathers in the home. I was looking at a segment of paternity court, and what triggered it for me was there was a 30-year-old, 32-year-old girl who wanted to know who her father was. Her mother claimed that the gentleman she messing with, who was prior military, was her father, and they lost contact when he left. And she was real adamant about it. As a matter of fact, she put his name on the birth certificate, and he had been paying child support for a certain amount of years. Um, so it was important for her to know and meet her father, and she wanted him to meet her kids. Um, I found it like real interesting after she had her own family and married that she still wanted to know who her real father was. And I guess this was a deeply emotional part of her life that she wanted to get settled. So when the DNA test came in, unfortunately, it wasn't her father. But this gentleman hugged her up and said he would still be there for her. And she cried profusely, you know. And there was another case, right? I'm gonna just talk about these two cases that brought me to this point. So there was another case, all right. So the gentleman had been in and out of he'd been incarcerated a couple times, and he'd been in a foster home when his father returned him, when his quote unquote father returned him to a foster home. His mother wasn't around. Apparently, she had an addiction problem. So he came to his father and he wanted to know, like, why did you get rid of me and why didn't you take care of me? So his thing was like, you know, I don't know if you're my son. And at the time, there was a lot of things going on in my life, and I had to make a decision. So the decision constituted him putting them in foster care. So he's like, look, I still want to have a relationship with you. I have kids and I don't want them to go through what I went through. Right. So he looked at the father, or he looked at the alleged father at this time. And the father said, well, I don't know what your mother told you, but there was another person in her life, and that could be your father. Mm. Anyway, as time progressed, the DNA test came in, and he was the father. They cried. The thing about it was, in those two scenarios, was the time that they lost. You understand? And the things that they missed, right? And I say that to say because there was a similar situation where a gentleman was with his wife and his wife left him for another person, but she was pregnant and she told him that the child was his. So upon him getting to know the child and in the interest of himself marrying somebody else, the mother left and went to another state. And he said he couldn't find her. So now she graduated and stuff like that. And the gentleman that the mother was living with became her guardian, mentor, her father in place of her biological father. So the biological father claims that because they took her away, he was never able to get to know her. And plus, he doesn't really know if she's his daughter, but he felt strongly about her. So she was upset and she said that you never tried to search for me, and I searched for you. So she held this against him. So they took the test for the stepfather, and they took the test for the one who was supposed to be her father. The stepfather failed the DNA test, which was hurtful to her, which was hurtful to her. Hold on. Which was hurtful to her. And the father was the one who was actually her father. But she never forgave her father for not searching for her, for not looking for her. And I just thought it was real rough. You understand what I'm saying? Because I look at the gentleman and you can see the pain on his eyes of wanting to be there, but not allotted the opportunity to do the things that he wanted to do for his daughter. So this brings us to our segment today, right? Of looking at, because paternity court, I believe, tells you and lets you know how important it is for a father to be in a child's life, right? So this is a segment. We're going to take a look at, the importance of a father in children's lives, on what effect does he has on the boy, what effect he has on the girl, a dysfunctional family and how it operates, and how what you call it, codependency, and how adaptive measures um look, right? So that's our segment for today. Any questions there?
No, I don't have any questions. I was just thinking in my mind as you were sharing that, and I was just thinking, oftentimes, and I was having this conversation with someone before we even get started, is that parenting is a sacrifice. And, you always hear me say this, that, we have these broken people coming together, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. We have these broken people who are not mature, not ready enough, not responsible, not accountable enough to go into these relationships and have these intimate relationships and ready and prepared for what it produces. And then we have these children who are the bystanders, the victims of this situation, if we want to say that, because they're innocent in this situation. So that was just coming to my mind as you was just sharing that. But I'd love to have you go into what you were talking about.
So yeah, so the kids, when you look at these scenarios, are the ones who suffer the most. Even when you have the one with the babies, you understand? It's sad. Some of them I can't even, like at paternity court, there's some issues I can't even look at because it's so hurtful. Um, Now there's a lot of issues where you see like a gentleman who can't have who didn't have a child in his life and gets attached to the child only to find out that the DNA is not his own, and then the family gets attached to the child, and they find it hard to believe that the DNA test says that it's inconclusive, it's not his, you know. Some even, what they do is they still want to take care of the child because of the relationship that they develop, and you see the pictures of where they're tying the child's shoes, taking them to the park, and all of these things. And, you know, I believe the paternal side of a family structure is so important for the development of a child. And having the father there, because as you can see in paternity court, even after so many years, people still want to develop a relationship with their biological father, even though they may have a stepfather and they're taking care of them. right? Um,
I think it's so important, a lot of, again, as I said, I often ponder about upon this because only if we could just think about our actions and our choices. Because, when you said that about they were crying and they were hurting and they were upset trying to figure out who their parent was at such a at such a late age, there's a void that has taken place in their lives that they, like you said, they didn't have that opportunity to develop that relationship, what it might look like, the lessons, the information, the love, the acceptance, how you should be treated, all those different things they missed out on. And you can feel that and see that void that they're experiencing in their lives. So I definitely agree.
okay, so yeah, so no doubt there's a void. And how do you fulfill this void? And how do we deal, like, you know, and just to say, because I hate just referring to paternity court, but this is where I seen, like, we talk about the effects of it, but like when you see, like, the thing of it, like I myself, I was in paternity court, at a very young age. Just to give you the background, this is why I watch it too. Um, I was told that I had a child, and that while I was in the service and I had left the duty station, and the child was a boy. So when she went, I was young at the time, so I didn't know nothing about counting months, 9 months or 9 months for the date and this. And I didn't understand none of those dynamics, and it is what it is. So if you tell me something is true, I'm automatically going to believe it's true. You understand what I'm saying? So,
And I
and
think the most important thing about that too is that that's your partner. It's not some stranger that you're with. The idea is that yes, it should be. We're celebrating. This is who else should it be, right?
I mean, that's the way we like to look at it, right? And that's the way I thought it was, but at the end, okay, so let me tell you a story. So uh she goes, so long story short is I get married based on the fact that she was pregnant, right? And so that the baby could have the best opportunity in the world that it would need to succeed in life, plus be there to support, plus, step up in life and do what I need to do. So I left her where she was at, and I went to Washington, D.C., and I started to work 2 jobs. So I worked 16 hours a day. You understand? Sometimes I work 20 hours a day, with only 2 hours sleep, so that I could get both checks in. So upon me working and doing all of that stuff, um, I received a call, and I guess one of my relatives had went with her to the hospital. So upon counting the months, if I was the father, she would have gave birth in 12 months instead of 9 months. So it was way off, right? So I was like, but she said, what I mean? So I wasn't sure, like, you know what I'm saying? Because I'm like, why would you do this to me? You know what I'm saying? And I'm out there working hard, trying to get things that the baby needs and stuff like that. Actually, I had already brought a whole box of clothes, everything already. Everything was already done. So with that being said, I call her, right? I call her, and I didn't call her right away. I like waited a while because I really didn't want to hear, after doing all what I was doing, that it's not what she said. So you go through a very traumatic process. Like, you're thinking, sometimes, what I'm saying, in that moment, you don't want to suffer the embarrassment of, because you done told everybody that this is your child. So you don't want to suffer the embarrassment of people finding out that 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 this is not true. That's the other thing. That's the other thing that you look at. Like, you don't want nobody to know that that this happened to you. You know what I'm saying? So I'm giving it to you not from just a TV perspective. I'm giving you from like a real life perspective. You don't want to have to face your friends. You don't want to know, not knowing that most of your friends already know, right? And you just hiding from yourself. Anyway, with that being said, you know, I finally make this phone call. I make this phone call, and I'm like, okay, so I said, how's everything going? You know, we start, how's everything going? How you feeling? She says, fine, everything is good. I said, you know, cause I'm sending her like $400 or $500 every 2 weeks. Facts. Right. So I'm letting her know that I'm getting ready to send her some more money for the child. Right. So upon that, she's like, yeah, that's good. Whatever is good. And it's cool. Thank you. Sounds like I just need to know, I just need to know one thing. And I need to know what month is the baby going to be born. And then she says, why are you asking me that? So from when she said, why you act, like, you got to know the people you with. Like, I could already knew that there was a big discussion behind it. So I'm like, well, so when I asked her why, when she said, why you asked me that? So I asked her where she was at. So she said she was at a relative's house. So I said, do me a favor so we could keep this between me and you. Leave there, take a taxi from wherever you at, go home, and then we'll talk about it. So we could do damage control, not knowing that everybody already knew. You understand? So we go over there, and then she starts crying. So she gives me a long story that wasn't true. And bottom line was the baby wasn't mine. See what I'm saying? So these is things that you do. And so for some people, and this is honest truth. Like, for some people, they would just try again. And for some people, they just stop and look. And they just it just stunts their growth. It just, like, you know what I'm saying? They got hit. Some people can't take getting hit too hard. You know what I'm saying? It just stops them, you know what I mean? So, you know, and you get stunned, like, and so from that, you all, some people just get shell shocked. Like, anything that looks like what you just went through, you start to run the other way. You don't even want to hear the story. You know what I'm saying? And so these is things that you deal with, like, you know what I'm saying? So, and I'm talking about on the father side, you know what I'm saying, and how it is. I could only imagine, though, what it would be like, you know, for a father who knows he's a father, then claiming he's not. But in my instinct, I was not, and I was really trying to do what I was supposed to do as that. You understand?
Thank you so much for sharing that just being so candid. And it's so unfortunate because I don't think when individuals, I want to say women, but when individuals do something like that, they don't realize the damage that it's doing to the other person and what that might look like. Like you said, that shell shock, that trauma, when you see something, they get triggered. But I think it's also what I wanted to say is there's so many unintended casualties to this whole situation, this whole scenario. And I always, I know we're talking about the paternity and, how that impact positive and negatively, but I always go back to, and I apologize up front. I don't want to be beating the dead horse, but I always think about us, our mental state and our capacity, what we're dealing with. before we start having children, because, it requires so much. And I don't think, the mental maturity is there, or maybe even the moral accountability. Because when you take somebody and you telling somebody that they are the father, and doggone well they are not the father, and you live this charade for so long, and you keep going, and you're doing this to them, and you're doing this to the child, and all these individuals and families, like you said, that are impacted by that. It's such a disservice. It's such a really traumatic situation, if I could even say that, because there's so many people that are hurt by that. I've seen that, and I often, and I was, as you were talking, I was thinking, man, and these cases are supposed to be real. Like you're saying, you're sleeping with two guys, and this one want to be the father, and that one is not the father, and like I'm just thinking to myself, like, has everything gone to the dogs? Like, what are we doing here? Like, what is going on here? Like, is there no, I don't want to say shame, but is there any morals and is any dignity? Of course, if we're challenging it, we're asking about paternity. That's another question, right? And so I always think about that. It's just so much for me when I hear that, and I'm like, do people really like this? Real, like people actually live like this? Like that's the thing. Like people have three, four, five, six boyfriends, or guys that they slept with. I slept with him 2 days ago. I slept with the friend 3 days ago, 5 days ago, and I'm like, and you honestly don't know who the father is, and you
So
have a child.
can I chime in for just 1 second? So a lot of it, um, I'm not saying the majority, but you could say like 60% was like revenge. He cheated on me, so I left with this friend. Some of them sleep with their best friend, some of them sleep with their brother or a relative, and just to do the shot to hurt them back. And then, you know what I'm saying? The result is that now your child or is has an undetermined factor of whether who's the father. And most of the time, the father who's taking care of the child is the one she want to be with, and she's worried that it could be the other person who wants nothing to do with the child, you know, and that's a major impact right there.
I don't know. You just opened up a can of worms, because every time I think about that, like when you just said that part about revenge, like, or you hurt me, I want to hurt you. And it's like, how do we heal if we continue to hurt each other? And now we have, like I said, somebody in the middle of this who's now the victim of this, or a casualty of this. And this child is not going to get the love and the support, depending on this outcome from the father that they need. Because, I always like to be transparent. I did not have my father growing up. I had a stepfather. And, you always wonder, well, let me just be transparent. Let me just back up, you know, and again, I guess the reason for me why I'm so passionate about this is because as a adult, don't think about, we have no insight into how this may impact our child. And I always think about whether, so for me in my household, I am always a need to know person, right? I don't, that's just in my life anyway. You don't need to know something, I'm not sharing it. And I'm like that with a lot of different things in my life. Like, I don't need to share. It's not, when you need to know it, then you'll know it. If you don't need to know it, mum is the word. Like, I have nothing to say to you about it,
Okay.
just because I realize the importance of what people say and how it might impact somebody else. So my mother told me I might have been like 8, 9, maybe 10, maybe no more than that, that this person was my father. But when we had a conversation, she told me that his family told her, of course, he was incarcerated. So his family told her that I was not his child in the womb. And so, we have all of these dynamics, and then we have parenting, right? And so we're in this situation and we're frustrated, especially if we're young and we're not thinking. And so I didn't have that, I didn't have a father in my life, right? And so in my mind, I'm wondering, we always think about that, even though, and this is what I say, parent and insight. because children they internalize these things. They make it all about them, even in their developmental stages. They're wondering why you don't love me, why you don't like me. The parents can be having an argument that has nothing to do with the child, and all of a sudden they make it about them and they're wondering what happened. And so, you have that. When I was talking about the void, I understood her pain and I understood what she was possibly going through, but how we process is differently, and the information, our life and our journey, how we get through that. But as parents, we don't understand how that might impact the child, and they carry this burden that you don't love me, you don't like me. And of course, when we're doing this to a gentleman, we're thinking, or man, we're thinking, I'm getting back at him, and where I'm gonna sleep with him, his brother, his cousin, his sister, maybe sister, I don't know, but everybody in the family, or everybody that he knows. And it's so much pain, and in my mind I'm thinking, we are in these, again, like I said, we're mentally and emotionally probably not even mature enough to have these children. Just because we lay down and do what grown folks do, and this is the result of it, doesn't mean that you are prepared. I was telling somebody today. Actually, I was telling my son, I was like, when you have children, children require you to sacrifice. Children, what you no longer talk about what you like, what you want. I am the type of person that I will be your friend, or I will be cordial. I will be as kind with you, especially if my children are involved. I'm not your enemy because you have my children or you are with my children. So I want us to have a working relationship for the sake of my children. Once they're old enough and I no longer have to see you, deuces, like, right? I don't need to have that kind of situation anymore because they're old enough and they can handle themselves. But, it's just having that cohesiveness in the family so that it benefits our children. And that's just the kind of energy I have. And not having the right dynamics for me really drives me to have those kind of situations for my children. And I was telling somebody, and you see a lot of immaturity, a lot of emotional issues, and imbalances that's happening there. And again, these beautiful children are suffering. And then you have these adults who are still suffering throughout their life, their adulthood, because they can't manage and can't function because of this.
No, no, a lot of them are. So let me tell you, and then I want to go to this clip, but let me tell you this story, right? So this couple, they started at a young age, and she wanted to go to college, but she had a child. So when she was getting ready to go back to college, they had another child. So they move in together, right? And apparently, she said that she started too young and she didn't get a chance to live. So she was dating other people to get, I guess, to get that experience of just what life is like, because she missed that. And she said she was forced into this
Wait,
relationship.
wait, wait. You said they moved in together. That's what did you just not
Yeah,
say that
yeah,
a few
yeah, yeah,
seconds
yeah,
ago?
yeah. So they moved. So while they okay, so while they together, they seen other people too. You understand?
Open relationship. Okay.
Yeah, they seen other people too, because she feels that she was forced into this relationship because of these two kids. And she needs to experience life. Okay. So here comes the third child. So the third child is in question, right? So, I mean, this is a beautiful young girl. I mean, so at a very young age, she didn't get to go to college and she has three kids. The judge says they're going to have to figure out paternity for the third child that she has and the one in the stomach. So now,
I'm just gonna turn my screen off for one.
okay. So for the one in the stomach, what happens is, um, they do the DNA test and they found out that the third child is not his, and the one in the stomach is his. So the guy doesn't want none to do with the child if it's his, the other guy. So the one that has the children with her already decides to take care of her. And he said he'll step up if the other guy doesn't. So her fate is pretty much sealed. They have to decide, and they haven't decided whether they want to commit to each other yet. They live together, but they haven't decided if they want to commit to each other yet. Apparently, he loves her. She says she loves him, but she's still on the slopes with for
She tolerate him just because of the situation, and he's willing to do all of that because the other person is not willing to do all of that. The minute she get a better offer,
yeah. I mean, but
she's
so it's
done.
kind of hard to get a better offer with 4 kids. Like it's not much people that would do that. You know what I mean? For it's hard to get an offer. I'm serious.
It's something that she likes, maybe something that she likes, because she's just tolerating this now.
Yeah,
And when her tolerance level has reached capacity, what will that look like?
yeah. So, but I want to show you this clip, and and tell me what is your honest opinion, because I wanted to talk also about stepfathers, and this clip right here has a lot to do with with what I think just stepfathers and what they do. And hold on a minute. I just transferred it over. Hold on. Okay, here goes. Oh, it's on format. You can't see it? Hold on.
Not yet.
Let me. This new format has. Hold on. Let me fix that while we talk, because I
No
believe.
worries. As you can see, I changed my location. I'm sitting outside. It's a beautiful, beautiful view behind me. And so I'm just enjoying nature while we do this presentation. So this is great. We moved it to outdoors.
Hold on. Let me reset it, because yeah, I think I have to find out, like, is the father wrong? I don't want to, what I'm saying, before you see it, because I have my idea of it. And I think this was just something that just impacted me, the way he came off, the way he came off about this. Like I just couldn't believe he did it. Right. But I believe that and this just became the dynamic of, why men either don't want to be stepfathers, or the challenge of being a stepfather. I don't know. Like, so hold on. I just think it. I just thought it was the man was sincerely upset.
Well, I would love to see that just because I had a stepfather. So I'd love to hear someone else's perspective. And uh for myself, I was determined that my children would not have a stepfather. That while
No,
they were growing up. So yeah, no, so no, I'm
you was
so
totally you,
grateful.
you was totally against that.
So you know what? I thought about it, but you know what? In hindsight, I'm so glad that they didn't. Like, I needed to be there for my children. I'm really about healing and wholeness, social emotional wellness, and being wrapped up in a relationship while they're in this crucial stage and there's a divorce happening, and the splitting of the family and all that other stuff that's happening, those many dynamics. For me, it was so important that if one person was available all the time, that person would be me. I needed them to know that. And so I'm grateful that wasn't a part of my life, because I'm not sure what would have happened.
Wow. Okay. Now, I'm just to say, like, there's a lot of stepfathers who do their thing, you know?
Not when I have a young girl. Like I can't, I don't know. Like at that time, you might be great. I just, for me, I just wasn't in a position to take those chances with anybody over
Okay.
my children. They needed to heal. They needed to be whole. They needed their mind to be, a lot of things needed to be removed. We needed some calmness, some peace, some center, and anything else was going to be a distraction. So my focus was to really get them to a place that they could feel and be in a better
And then
space.
and then, and then
So
they could do it for
I
themselves.
couldn't even take that chance. I wouldn't even want to take that chance.
Wow. Okay, hold on. Listen to this.
Yeah, yeah, I might hurt some, I might hurt.
Could you see it? All right.
Daughter's wedding because her real daddy is the one that's gonna walk her down the aisle. So let me tell you guys about my stepdaughter, all right? She wants her real daddy to walk her down the aisle. Now let me give you a little backstory on me and my stepdaughter. She just graduated from university, which I paid for. Now, she went to an in-state university, but it still cost me about $40,000. Now, I also bought her a car. I bought her a car straight after high school. That way she could go back and forth to school. I bought her a car. She still lives with me and her mother. She does not have a job. Now, she's set to be married on August the 8th. And for the past 6 months, that's all her and her mother been talking about doing. Being occupied with, being consumed most of their time. Now, her daddy, he don't contribute to not 1 cent on her. Not her education, not child support, which is partly her mother's fault because, she didn't fight for that. And I guess that's just what the settlement was. And he only around to make promises. I do that for you, I do this for you, and then take off. And then she'd be heartbroken. But she adores her father, right? So, like I said, she's set to be married in August. And the wedding venue, I told them they can have it in my home. The wedding venue can hold about 250 people, right? Now I said, hey, I got a list of 20 people that I want to come to the wedding. I'm paying for this at my house. I want these 20 people to come. Do y'all know Saturday?
Okay.
So tell me what happened on Saturday.
So he kicked the both of them out. He kicked the mother and the daughter out. That was the part that y'all didn't see. So he got upset because the girl wanted her real father to walk her down the aisle. And like he said, he did all those things. He can't imagine why he wasn't the one. So he kicked the mother and the daughter out. Now, do I need to play it again? So this is, I mean, it's my.
No, I thought I see it in so many different levels and so many different aspects. I definitely see what he's not saying, his hurt and his pain, because he's saying, I stepped up for you, even though you didn't have your father. Every time he failed you, I was there to step in to do what needed to be done. And we think about it, father is who raised me, or father who is donated what needed to be donated for me to be here, right? And so I definitely understand his pain and his frustration, but I also see in her heart she's yearning for her father, and in her mind and in her being she's wondering, why haven't I never been good enough for you to do what you needed to do? Will you be proud of me at this moment? Can you do this? Like, this is a moment where I want you to be proud of me. Can you be proud of me at this moment? Like, you didn't do any of the other things. This big moment, can you be proud of me? Can you do that? And so it's such a hard and it's such a difficult dynamic. I mean, I think on the human side of it, as a person, if I did all of that for you and I stepped in and I showed you how much I cared and how much I love you and I'm here for you all this time and I did all of these things for you, is that not enough love for you? But again, that's when we go back, that's the dysfunctional part of what you're talking about in this whole topic, is that, that parental input, that value there that's missing. And, he's saying, I stepped in and I did all of that. But in her heart, she still feels the need to do that. I don't know. Because, I mean, why couldn't they both walk her down the aisle? As far as I'm concerned, why couldn't they both? He's her father. He's been the person that's been here for her. Why couldn't this be a moment where they bring everybody together as opposed to the man who has said, I'm stepping up for you. Now I'm going to push you to the side in this very important moment in my life. So it's definitely a tough.
I mean, he kicked the both of them out. Let's get that
I
straight.
might have done that too. I probably might have done that too. I
Okay,
probably might have.
so we need to do a segment on stepfathers, number one, because this sounds like a hot topic. Two, I'm gonna give it to you like this, right? When you take the role of a stepfather, to me, to me, it's like it's a passive role in a child's life. It's not the primary role. You know, you're more like a secondary. By definition, you're a secondary. And so you got
Can I
to.
interrupt you for just one moment? You're right, and that is true, but it looks like because her father failed her on so many levels, he was really stepping in. I could see his love and his desire to want to, to mitigate that, right? And so I see what he did to you was wrong. I'm going to step in and give you this extra love. You are right. By no means, stepfather negate the biological father, but I do see his hurt and his pain. And, even though he's that passive role, he's like, listen, I've been here to shelter you every time this man put you down. Why would you not include me in this moment? Right. And so I think I don't know. I mean, it's kind of tough. I mean, of course he's in his feelings and maybe he'll calm down, but
So let me ask you a question. So you having a daughter and all of that stuff right there that's fits it. So if you was in that position, what would you do?
I would probably, so first of all, I would give her, so I try to talk to my kids about a lot of different things, bottom line, but I have confidence that my children will be able to make a decision that's going to, number one, honor what they need, but by no means fail to recognize. And as a parent, I would fail my daughter if I didn't say to her, because we learn, somebody's here, they're helping you, they're taking care of you. I paid your tuition, I paid for your school, I paid for you to have all of this. And money don't, doesn't mean that that's everything. But by me doing that, I'm showing you that I am here for you. I can count on you. I love you, and maybe this was his way of saying that I love you. And he's saying that the love that he loved her was not reciprocated. And I think somewhere along the line, there should have been a way where they could have been able to kind of mitigate that where she had her day. But it could have been a conversation, some wisdom that kick in and say, listen, I'm not telling you what to do. That is your father, but why, can it be a grand day where, have two of the person that gave birth to you and person who's been supporting you for as long as you can remember type of energy. And so that's just my thinking behind.
All right, so let me tell you what I feel behind it. So um he had to know that at some point, because this is how kids are. Kids, kids, especially like females, they move on emotion before they move on logic. You know what I'm saying? So her emotions was excited to have a real pops there. Not, and I don't believe it was to disrespect him, but just to have a pops there in her life where he wasn't. Now, because she was sheltered from not experiencing what it's not like of having a father in your life and to go through these frustrations, she probably doesn't appreciate the sacrifices that has been made for her. So she's not going to appreciate that until she gets to an older age of maturity, when she can look back and she can see how irrational a decision that she made. But because you
I
have,
just I
uh-huh.
just want to interject because if her mother was there with wisdom, she would have been able to kind of, being able to bring everything together where it doesn't have to be, that's where you guide your child and that's where you step in because many situations where there's a stepfather and there's a father, there's ways that we bring everybody together and that kind of understanding. That's just a lack of on the parenting part, the input because as a parent, I'm going to tell my child, blah, 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 blah. Of course, do whatever you need to, but I'm giving you enough information where you can see the bigger picture. And yes, you're right. Kids, yes, they are emotional. They're still trying to have this big day and they're still trying to do all of that. But at the end of the day, we always remember, and it's a golden rule. And that's just something that, you don't do unto others that you don't want done unto you. And no matter how old you are and still in your learning stages, our job as we leave from parenting becomes coaches. And this example right here and what you're talking about is probably a good example to what we're talking about when we talk about paternity court. When we have somebody that step in and then they're not the father. He was at an advantage because he knew he wasn't the father, but nonetheless he stepped in with the love and the support. Do we bypass that or do we negate that? And so I just think that there was opportunity for everybody to come together. But that's just me rambling on.
Yeah, no, 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 no. So you feel because she didn't let him walk her down the aisle that she's negating what he did? I don't feel that way. And
I,
no,
I'm not talking about her. I'm talking about I just feel like from the mother side, so he's feeling that, what, everything I did has been, in her eyes, it doesn't mean anything. It's nothing.
no,
And
no,
she's
no. So,
like
so,
I said,
so, so but you have to realize that what you're doing at this time is risk chance because of what kids want to know. Kids want to know who their biological is and the primary is.
right.
Look, better than that. There was a case on TV and like a true story about and it had to do with human trafficking, as a matter of fact. So the girl found out that the person whom her mother was living it wasn't her father, but this guy took care of her and gave her everything, and he was paying for her to go to college. But she wanted to go and meet her father before she goes to college and goes off to the thing. But they told her not to because the person that was her real father didn't care about her at all and didn't want his new family to see her. But she wants to find out why you rejected me. You understand? So she hid and drove to Mexico, crossed the border to find out why her father rejected her. She gets to the door, his current wife answers the door, and she realizes who she is and she gets upset and she says, I'll call him. They didn't let her in the door. They didn't say welcome. They didn't say anything. And the father said, why did you come here? I want nothing to do with you. Your mother is this. He insulted the mother. And she felt worse knowing that than actually living with the fact of her wanting to know who her father was. And there was nothing that they could do or tell her that could stop her from wanting to find out this fact of who her father is. Even though she had a good life, she's going to college, he brought her a car, whatever, whatever. She still wanted to know who. There's many stories like this. You understand?
Yeah. It's that identity piece, that void that we were talking about. And even when I started with that, like I understood her position with her father. Like, I need to understand, like, am I good enough? Like kids go through they process in their mind. And because no one actually has a conversation with them that this is not about you, this is about the mistakes of an adult or, the mistakes that we made as in our parenting, they internalize all of that and they grow up and they carry that burden and that pain and that rejection and that feeling of, poor self-esteem, lack of confidence. And they feel like, you know what, I need to know, like there's a void inside of them. You don't know your identity because you don't know who you are. You don't know where you came from. And it's kind of like, I need to know, like, I just need to know, why wasn't I? And worse, if they have a family, like you said, and they're taking care of that other family, it's like, why was I never good enough? And do we ever sit down and have a conversation and say, baby, you know, your father and I, we're not together and he's leaving, you're leaving, or we're leaving. And it's not about you. You're beautiful, you're smart, or you're whatever it is. Do we ever take the time and in the moment in our adult choices to actually have those conversations with our children, and we leave that burden and those questions in their head, and you have somebody that's 35, 40 years old still trying to find their father. When they told me he was my father, I was like, oh, okay. Like, you ain't do nothing then, you ain't doing that now, and whatever. Like, I guess maybe that's just
I mean,
my energy with it, but
some people could turn it on and some people could turn it off, but there's a lot of people who can't turn it off like that.
yeah, I just was like, you didn't do nothing then, and what good is it now? And I'm still going to do what I have to do no matter what. But it hurts when you process it through on another level. You start thinking like, what happened? And if you don't have information to help you reconcile certain things in your life, you can be one of those people that's like, oh my God, like, I need to find my father. Like, I need to know my identity. Like, what happened? No one told me. It's this great secret. The secret is he told them I wasn't his child. He wasn't trying to do anything. And the secret is out. I'm just saying, for me. I'm just saying for me, like, right? But some people that really hurts them to the core. And I will be honest with you, it certainly impacts in self-esteem. It certainly impacts confidence. It's certainly because you're wondering in the back of your mind, even if it's not something you say unconsciously, you're thinking, I'm not good enough. I can't do it. There's something wrong because of that situation that no one stopped to kind of talk to the children with. When I will share this with you and then I'll let you go on. When I was divorcing, when my husband and I were divorcing, I literally took my children to a restaurant, sat down with them, had a meal with them, and said, listen, we love you. I love you the way I know how to love you. He loves you the way he knows how to love you. And this has nothing to do with you. Adults walk together for a while, and then things happen where we're no longer walking down the same path or on the same page. That does not mean that we don't love you or we will stop loving you. It just means that we will not be in the same household as a family, but you will still have me and as a family. You will still have him as a family, and we will experience things differently. And all of those experiences will enrich your life. That was the conversation I literally sat down and had with my kids in the middle of going through a divorce, so that they did not carry the baggage in their heads and in their minds about what was happening and whether or not it had anything to do with them.
Okay. So, the question would be for you is this, right? Yeah, you came to that point, but the relationship that you got into, did it have a lot to do with the lack of a father figure in your life?
To be honest with you, I don't think so. To be honest with you,
Okay.
to be completely transparent, you know how you get into, it's that happened to you, that happened too, and so it was kind of like, I'm licking my wounds, you
Have
licking your
common ground.
wounds. I'm licking my wounds from different traumas that happened in my life, but not necessarily pinpointing it to not having a father. But I guess if we can kind of look back and, and look back and reflect on that, maybe we both, because neither one of us had our fathers for whatever the reason is, there
But you
was
had
some
common
rejection.
ground. Y'all felt
We had
comfortable together.
we had common traumas that we were bonding with, that common ground. So yeah,
Yeah,
it was
yeah. I
kind of
mean,
like,
I mean,
yeah.
I mean, yeah, common
Yeah,
trauma.
yeah, yeah. No, no, no. I know what you mean. Like, yeah, that's exactly what it was. But I don't think
Hey,
we never really thought about
so,
it
so,
as,
so then, all right, so then it would be safe to say that's what created the bond. Like, or some people call it love, some people, but that's what created the
a
situation.
bond. Ain't no love. There's no love up in there. Because if you don't know how to love and you dealing with trauma, let's
No,
be
no,
real.
no, 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 no,
Yeah,
no.
no, no, no. I know what you mean. I
At
know
that,
what you
at
mean.
that,
But
at that time, it's love
no,
because
it wasn't still no love because you don't know how to love. Like, it's something. It's a bonding. It's a connection. It's whatever it is. But when it's not love. But yeah. Okay.
no, 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 no. I get what you're saying. So I'm saying, but before you came into this type of knowledge, right? That's what you would have called it.
Honestly, I don't know. I honestly, I don't think so.
Okay,
I think if I, you know what? If I thought about it, because you know what? No one likes to think that they don't know what love is. So if I go a little bit deeper and pull off some layers, maybe the love that I understood and knew at that time the connection, making that comfort, being able to connect. Maybe I felt like that was something to bond with, not necessarily
So
love. I don't,
that's right.
if
So,
that makes sense.
so it made you feel the relationship with him made you feel comfortable.
It was comfortable.
Okay, that's what. Yeah, it was
Not
comfortable.
safe, but comfortable.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But I'm saying it was comfortable for whatever purposes or whatever things. It was comfortable. It was livable.
Yeah, it was comfortable. It was comfortable. It was a comfort. It was like, we share a common, we understand each other type of thing. I don't know if I ever really believed any love was in there. I don't want, I try to be honest, and, I try to be transparent, and I try to really reflect on that. I personally knew I didn't know what love was. And so I wouldn't say that there was some love. Maybe he said that, I don't know, but he don't know what love is either. So I don't know if he could say that.
No,
I'm
no,
not laughing
no,
at
no,
anybody,
no,
please.
no, no.
I'm laughing at myself. I'm laughing
So,
at my situation. So
so dig it, right? I'm gonna just talk like for real, like you know, my pops walked away for a long time. You know what I'm saying? I didn't know he came back into my life when I was like in maybe the fifth grade. And they were having to meet. And, you know, it was kind of hard to, when you're at that age, you think your pops is cool, you know what I'm saying? Regardless of what your mom say, you still think. I mean, for me, I thought he was cool, you know what I'm saying? It wasn't until like I got older, a lot of the things that I thought he was cool for and a lot of things, it started to dissipate. And I started to look at it different ways. You understand? Okay. Now, with that being said, you know, he had said some tragic things, you know what I'm saying, that kind of made me turn different ways. You understand what I'm saying? I and our relationship became, instead of, it was closer when we was younger, but as I got older, we began just to like, we had two different visions, you know what I mean? And it began to spread apart, so we didn't really get along, you know what I mean? But the notion for me, like I'm gonna be honest, like the notion for me, like if there's life without a father, it didn't bother me like that. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Life with a father is all right. Life without, it's still all right. I had experience in the both sides, and it didn't affect me to the point where I was like, wow, you know what I'm saying? Now, there were other people in my life, like there were uncles and stuff like that, that explained to me a lot of different things. They may have not given me the best routes to go. You know what I'm saying? As a matter of fact, they was giving me some rough routes to go. But I was able to what you call it, maneuver my way through life. You understand what I'm saying? And figure certain things out. I'm glad I didn't take a lot of the roles that they were showing. Some of them were showing because we probably wouldn't be having these conversations today. Understand what I'm saying? But all in all, you know what I mean, there was something to fill in the blocks. Now I really don't know my father's side of the family. Matter of fact, I don't know none of my father's side of the family really, except for maybe one or two people. So until today, we really don't have like a relationship, nothing like that. And and to me, I'm gonna be honest. Like it's not like, but it's all right. I'm not mad. You know what I'm saying? It's all right. You know what I mean? It's all right. I mean, and that's just the way it's been. Um, you know, like my father has other children, but we not close like that. Or the other thing is like that. So to me, I always grew up as an only child. Okay, so these is things that you look at and like boom. I mean, thank God, like I never really had to experience the stepfather syndrome. You know what I'm saying? Because I probably would have never liked the guy, to be honest. I was like, nobody, you know what I'm saying? I'm just be keeping it real. So I don't know. Like the whole like I don't have these withdrawals that I see like on paternity court, but I do empathize with a lot of them. You understand? I don't know if I made
No, you did. I had a stepfather and I really appreciated him. To me, he was my father because I didn't have my father. And so, but I still recognize that he is my stepfather. But I didn't really, it wasn't like, I think for us growing up, we were kids. We lived in a building, he was the super. We just did like hit stuff. So it was never something that I guess when you don't have something, you don't know that you don't have it. And so until we got it, and then they were like, okay, my mother is going to marry him, and he started helping us out. And it wasn't nothing major to us where we felt like it was such a I think I was fortunate. I mean, again, they did have the violence. Now, let me just be completely transparent. Like I said to you on many occasions, they will come together. They were very toxic in themselves. So they would just pull out the table and start fighting. We got ringside seats to a boxing match that we did not ask to go to and certainly didn't pay for, but we were sitting in there. And so there was a lot of toxicity in that. But as far as us, whether we were phased by it or something happened to us, absolutely not. He was really good to us. I do think I always caution when I talk about, I think about stepfather, and are you fair to all children or are you biased to your own children type of thing. So it's always that kind of energy with understanding those whole dynamics. And again, like I said, I am grateful. And don't get me wrong, my kids did have a step, their father got remarried. And so there was somebody, and I honestly will tell you the honest to God truth. I tried to be as peaceable as possible with them for the sake of my children, just because.
So let me ask you a question, right? Like, did your stepfather have other children?
I have a younger brother. He is 10 years younger than me. That's the youngest child. That's his
Oh,
child.
no, no, I'm
The
talking
other,
about did he have the children outside of the relationship?
he did not. He did
Oh,
not. He did not. He was actually really good to us, really good. He really wanted to, really discipline and do the right thing. And so I
so
really didn't have.
how is your relationship with the younger brother?
Oh, my youngest brother? Yeah, my relationship is good with him. Yeah, I don't have any problems with him.
Oh,
You
okay.
know,
Okay,
I don't
now,
have, I mean, I didn't, I was fortunate in the fact that, again, there was a lot of toxicity, but as far as him doing anything, he really wanted to do the right thing by us. And so we were grateful for that.
okay, okay. I'm glad you could see the dichotomy or the two sides of that whole thing. Some people don't, you know what I mean? And it's just one way.
No, I was really grateful. Like, him and my mother, they had their moments, but we still, to this day, will check up on him, call him, and they're not together. They haven't been together in many years. We will still, like, again, he's the only father that I know. And so I respect that and I honor that and I treat him, I give him that because when there was no one to step up, he did step up, right? And so I do respect that and honor that. And I always say, I know that he's my stepfather. He always calls us his daughters and, my sister and I, his kids, and he's always been that way for us. And so we were fortunate in that regard. I just, again, like I said, the other things that was happening among the adults, we were not in the middle of, but he always was good to us,
All
as the
right.
kids.
So look, right. Let me give you a scenario, right? I know we kind of getting off beat, but let me give you a scenario. So, like, I witnessed my father hit my mom and stuff like that. It's only until I got older, like, what I mean? I really don't care like what you did. If you touch my mom's again, it's on and popping in every way. Like it's not, I don't care if you buy me a $1 million car. If you touch my mom's again, it's on and popping, and you gotta do what you gotta do to me to do, you know what I'm saying? That's how it is for me. It's not a two-way, like I don't care what you did. I mean, that's just me though. You understand what I'm saying? I remember, and this is facts. So my mom had took my mom to a funk. My father had took. By this time they divorced, And he came, my mother needed somebody to take her to a function. He came and took her to a function. And I looked in the elevator and her leg was messed up. He looked at me right away and he explained, no, no, son. She slipped and fell. I said, Mom, you slipped and fell? Yeah. And automatically he knew. You know what I'm saying? The thing you understand is not like I said, what? And then you know what I mean? And that was me younger at age. But I'm just saying, like these is things that, you know what I mean, that I don't know. You know what I mean? It's a very touchy situation, give and go. You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't know how that works. But and this is why I think like having a stepfather conversation is like good because it brings out a lot of things like, whatever.
I think again, like I said, there was a level, for some reason they did not, I think really and understanding that one of the things that I did think about with my own family was like not being in an environment like that. When you know that things are not working anymore and we're not bringing out the best that we need to bring out in each other, it's time for some division. It's time for some dividing. We can't do this anymore. Like I'm not about to do this
So
because, you
that's what
know,
I'm saying. So look. Like if I see like anybody hitting my mom, I'm not excusing it. Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm trying to do my best to find a way to get to you. That's how it goes. You know what I'm saying? I don't know how other kids is, but I'm trying to do my best to get to you. You know what I mean?
you know what's so tricky about that? Like we were literally, I think we were just so shocked. Like we didn't even know what, like it was such a shock. Like it was like, and
So,
the
so, so,
normal.
so that's what I'm saying. At no moment you felt like you had to defend your moms.
No, I was we was just looking like what in the world. We was trying to separate them because we were like, I'm trying to separate them. Other people trying to separate them. My sister and other people are screaming like in panic and like this is a fight. Like this is what's going on. And so we were trying to get in like stop it, stop it. We were trying to break them up. Like what are you guys doing? Like what is this? Like stop. That's what that I think that was our energy. Just stop. Like we were trying to get in the middle of them because that's our mother and we care for him. He's been taking care of us. He's like our father. Y'all our family. We need y'all to stop. This is our strength. We need you to stop. And so my energy was to stop them. My sister and maybe other people, they were crying, screaming, whatever. But it
You
was
were the
kind of like
oldest?
I'm the oldest, yeah. So it was kind of like y'all need like stop. We trying to, kids trying to get in the middle of, and then the interesting part about all of this is when everybody reconcile and they're all good again, nobody has a conversation to say, we just has how do you explain this to kids after all of that, and then now we're this. And so there was no, and that's what I was saying. Like we don't have conversations. Like kids don't understand. There's no way for them to reconcile what they're seeing to kind of figure out how to put all of this and how to place all of this. All I knew is that when I was growing up, understanding my own temperament was like, we're not about to do this. I'm shutting anything down and everything down that looks like this. I'm shutting it down.
Okay, I got you. I mean, those are different perspectives. I just, you know what I'm saying? I just had flash and just thought, you know what I mean, that at the end of the day, I wasn't, nah, I wasn't, it's not happening. I don't care what you give me.
We didn't know what was going on. Like kids are so, when you're so innocent and you just looking like, what the, we just was like, I think we probably would have been like, I don't want to say we were slow, but we was just like we honestly didn't know what to do when the people that we count on is doing this. The only thing we could think of is just making them stop, like stop this until we realized that this was something that they were doing for a little while when they got angry with each other. Not a lot of times did I see that, but it was kind of like y'all have to stop. We like, what are y'all doing? Like, it was kind of like push, like, stop it. Like, we shouldn't, and I don't believe kids should ever have to worry about whether, one parent or the other. I used to tell my kids, like, I'm your mother, he's your father. Stay out of grown-ups business. Let grown-ups handle grown-up stuff. And you love him because he's your father. And you love me because I'm your mother. Whatever happens between us, that is not for you to get in the middle of. Just love them however you love them, just honor them because that's what the commandments say, and keep it moving. Don't worry about what's happening between us. This has nothing to do with you. You should still love them. But in our minds, we didn't know what, to be honest with you, we didn't know what to do. We just didn't know what to do. We were just like, stop. I know for me, it was kind of like, just stop. That was the only thing I could think of. Stop it. Like, y'all need to stop.
I mean,
This is not okay.
those things could turn an innocent child into like, because the idea is to want to get revenge. The idea is, you know what I'm saying? This is the main instance why people join gangs and stuff like that, to get the strength to come back to get whoever you know what I mean? And that's how this thing works. You know what I'm saying? Because you get upset. Even if so, I may not have enough strength, but I know there's strength in numbers. So, you know what I mean? And this is how it works. You know what I mean? So I mean, that's how I was looking at it. You know what I'm saying? I don't know how you was looking at it. So okay, all right. So you could beat me, but then I know if I'm with these people, it's a different story. You understand?
Yeah, it's crazy what happens when you're young, and just being able to think back and reflect on that, because no one, hopefully no one prepares you for how to deal with this. But unfortunately, I was sharing something, and I was sharing this on social media, that these dysfunctions and these behaviors that we learn when we grow up, they become our default behavior. They become our default responses, because this is what we've learned, unless we are willing to step outside of that box, like step outside of that circle or that wheel, to do something else and to do something different, to find some information that's going to transition your life or catapult it in another direction. And so I'm so grateful for opportunities that allow me to tap into different information, to understand things differently, so that I understand. I'm not judging anybody because, I'm not there. I don't like to judge people. I don't know what was happening. All I know is that this is what's happening. I'm okay with, because you all are the adults. I don't throw shame on you. I just recognize that these were some things that happened. I learned these things as a default, as a response, because this is what you taught me when I see certain things or do certain things. You can tell me as much as you want, do this and do that, but what you're modeling is complete. If it's completely different, that's what I'm going to. What you show me is what I'm going to be doing. And so it's a process, it's a journey, it's information, and it's learning. But I'm grateful for everything that I've been able to learn in regards to that. So I'm so grateful. I thank God for my mother. I thank God for my stepfather. Like I said, we still talk to him to this day. We've been trying to check in on him to make sure he's okay, and understand, like, it wasn't okay. His behavior was not okay. Him saying certain things, and telling my mother, like, listen, I often tell you, I work with 70, 80. You'd be surprised. I think I was telling you, I think the last year or the year before that, somebody called me and was telling me they're 89 years old and still in a domestic abuse situation. And I'm like, and the response was, you get used to it, right? And so certain things, certain behaviors, certain patterns, it becomes your new normal.
Yeah. Look, I'm saying, like, you brought me some heavy memories. Look, like I said, these is very emotional spots.
Are
And
you okay? I
no,
always like to do
no,
a
no,
check-in.
no,
Are
yeah,
you
yeah,
good?
yeah, yeah. No, no, no.
We brought up some memories, some emotions, but you know what? Processing through it. I talk a lot about healing, and I think for healing's sake, and I'll just share this with you and then shut my mouth. For healing's sake, and I always tell this to people because I'm so passionate about healing. Because we get to a certain point and we deal with certain feelings, certain emotions, but the minute it taps into a place, and I don't mean you per se, I just mean in general, the minute it taps into that or triggers that pain that you decided that you were going to bury and that you're going to act like you don't remember, and again, not you per se, and we don't get our full healing and our full deliverance because we don't want to revisit that pain. And I'm telling you, I had to see some pains and some truths that would just cut you in half. Not cut something out, literally slice you in half
Mm.
and leave you in pieces. And I'm like, after I got that truth, it was kind of like, now, how do I apply the wisdom to that? How do I apply information to that to get me to where I need to be to kind of understand this, release myself from this, change my perspective, or at least adaptable perspective to understand what somebody else was going through, to be in their shoes, to be able to come to the other side. And I always allow being able to be free to talk about or explore that pain, because that's the only way you're going to get free. You get to a certain point and it'll be like, I don't want to go any further. And so I'm so passionate about that. Believe me, it's not something that I take lightly, but I am so passionate about being able to truly heal from within.
Yeah. I got just to break up the I got a video to share about stepfather. Hold on a minute. Let me share this with you and let me see your thoughts on this. Hold on. Okay, here we go. The emotional man. Give me 2 seconds.
No worries. I was just thinking, I've heard people tell me stories about stepfathers, and I am just so grateful.
No,
You don't know how grateful I am.
that's a touchy subject altogether. I think we do need to do a segment on it. I gotta look though and really talk about it because I mean that right there is a major thing, you know.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't want to act like I never wanted to be in a relationship or wanted to get married again. It was kind of like, I am so glad I did not, but I want to see this video. I'm going to hold that thought.
Yeah, I just pressed it and it didn't even show. Hold on. There you go. It did it again. Hold on.
I think I saw this, and this actually broke up the relationship, right? Because he said that he was not going to save her son. This is the one?
Yeah, that's the one. That's the one. That's exactly the one. I don't know why it doesn't want to show today. Oh my gosh.
Well, let
Sometimes,
me just tell you something. If you looked at my children, if you're my partner and you even looked strangely at my children, we have to have a conversation. Like, I need to know, because I want to figure out where your heart is. I don't know. It's so I can't see the video. I don't remember the entire video, but
hold on. Let me. Yeah, I got because this video speaks to a lot of what we was doing here. Hold on a minute. Oh my gosh, I can't believe it just doesn't want to show. Sometimes this thing does that to me. I got the computer fixed, but you know.
I'm gonna say that even though did it on?
No, it didn't come on yet. I don't know why it's not coming on, to tell you the truth.
It says
Wow.
if he truly loves her, will he save the son? I have a question.
Yeah.
And so
That was and she got so upset that led to a divorce. That very thing that you taking lightly led this woman to divorce this man because of that.
so so let's just be really honest and transparent. He's not the father, right? And so he understands that we're talking about paternity, right? We're talking about the issues with parenting, and we talk about being able to,
Nah, but
we know who our.
he said something I think is like very detrimental. Hold on,
Oh, I don't remember what he said.
no, yeah, you gotta you see. He said something that's very detrimental. And I'm looking at him like, I wouldn't. Even if I felt that way, I wouldn't have said that. You know what I'm
Be
saying?
tactful with your words, right?
You got you because even hearing you talk, you could see that there's certain things you can't say.
So again, like I said, I am really grateful because, my children needed to be healed. They needed to be able to do certain things. And if you can't love me and love my children, we're a package. And we don't even need to have a conversation. There's no conversation. You just might as well keep moving, keep going, because there's no conversation. There's nothing, there's no ifs, ands, buts about it. My children are my children. And if you can't receive them, accept them, and they can't be, we all not family. I'm all right with that. I could live with that. I can completely live with that. We're just
No, no,
not meant to be together.
well, I don't think so. Okay, so okay, let's see if I can get it because it's not. I could see what he was saying, but it's just the way he said it. Oh my gosh, I can't believe the video.
Well, hopefully we'll be able to get the video the next
Yeah,
time. But
yeah.
I
Because
mean,
it's just maybe it's upset at me. I don't know what it is. Hey, these things have a moment, you know what I mean? That
technology.
yeah, these things have its moments. I don't know what's going on. Why it doesn't want to play. I can't even understand. Oh, let me see if I could get the audio of it because I mean the way he expressed it, he saw no problem in what he said. I think I think it all has to do with the way he came off. Or maybe I'm not doing it right. I don't know. Hold up. Let me see. Advanced video. All right. Hold
In
on.
his delivery, maybe he felt like he could just be, straightforward, but maybe, I don't know. I'd have to see it to kind of.
All right. Hold on. Let me see if I could just do the audio. My thing is not working, so I don't know. But anyway, so what happens is you could hear me? All right. So he's explaining that, you know, his wife was giving him a scenario, and of course, it's not his son, that's his stepson. And she said if she seen her son drowning, she would do anything that she had to save her son and forget her life, right? So she asked him if he saw her drowning and her son, who would he save? So he said, I would save her, right? And leave the son. So she got upset. She said, you should have said that you would save the son. So he said, I love the son because of you. So because I love the son because of you, and you're the reason why I have these affections for him, I'm saving him rather than you. Rather, I'm saving her rather than him. That's where he went wrong. That whole scenario was wrong. And you know what I'm saying? So he should have even said, I would try to save the both of you, or he should have said, listen, you know what I mean? Like, it's not that I don't love your son. It's just that I think if I save you, your chances for your son surviving will be better. Something to that nature. But the way he said that tells me that he really doesn't care for her son. Because your love can't be, that's conditional love. Your love can't be conditioned on the fact that if she wasn't around, I wouldn't care for you. So he has no genuine affection for the son. That was
What
totally
he's saying.
wrong. Yeah, that was totally wrong. So he said his intentions. She was right. He said his intentions, and that was totally wrong. What he said, the way he said it was totally wrong.
So you always, you get to know what people in people's hearts. So I guess she felt like, I know exactly what's in your heart now. There's no reason for us to go any further. And to ask that kind of question, I'm just thinking there had to be something that she was seeing or trying to tap into to ask such a question. Because
Here
oh
you
wait,
go. Here you go. See, here you go.
okay, here we go.
Here you go. Yeah, no, and I've been doing this all along, and it didn't work. Now that I explain it, but that's how life goes, right? Listen to it though.
I have a question. I've been married to my wife for 10 years, and she has a son by someone else that I helped raise. So basically, my stepson. One day I asked her if I was drowning and her son was drowning, who would she save? And she told me her son. So then she asked me if she was drowning and her son was drowning, who would I save? And I say, her. I would save her. She starts getting upset and tells me I should save her son, not her. I tell her I only love him because I love you. If we had a kid together and it was my blood, it would be different. I don't have that bond with your son that you have with him. I still love him, but you mean more to me. We are now in the middle of getting a divorce. So my question is, was I wrong for actually telling her how I feel, or should I have kept it to myself and told her what sounded nice?
Do you saw the problem with that, T?
Yeah, and so, what's interesting about that is that when he asked her, would you save me or your son? She said, my son, right? And we would expect that. I know I would, right? And so he probably felt like in the same, the same energy that you're giving me, but it's not the same energy that you could tell her what you just said to her. I think, like you said, it should have been, like, listen, I know that that's your son, and I know that you would do anything for him. You're my wife, and it should have been. I think it should have been smoothed over better than what he said.
That's a question that shouldn't have
Yeah,
been posed. That's a question that shouldn't have been posed. And evidently,
right,
so, and then here, so you didn't even see the part I was trying to say. So look, he said, if the child would have been my blood,
right. Then that's different, right?
and
Yeah,
that's different. That, so,
right. I heard that, and that's why I was like, like there was a lot that he said that he should not have said. Like he said, keep to
all
himself.
right, that
Like I
was
said, I'm a need to know person. A lot of times before I talk to people, I process. I'm a processor, so I have to think about in my mind exactly what I want to say, and then I try to be intentional because I come from an environment where people are not intentional about what they say. They just say whatever they want to say, and the words that they use out of their mouth. So I really try to think about my words before I use them and what I'm going to say and how much I'm going to say in certain situations.
right. So I think she was actually right about a divorce proceeding, but he doesn't. My point is, I see a problem because he doesn't realize what he said to cause that problem. You know what I'm saying? You don't go and tell a woman that that's a mother that loves her son tremendously, like, um, I only love him because of you. If it had
Poor
been,
choice of words. Poor choice of words.
and if it was my, and if it was our son and it was my blood, then I would save him before you. That is totally wrong because essentially in the perfect world, because it's not a perfect world, you're supposed to have the same love for that child like you do your own child because of the mere fact that you accepted this person into your life. That's the perfect world. He gave the scenario where he really doesn't really care for the child, only on the acquiescence of the mother being around. And so
Yeah.
the tolerance level, you could already tell the tolerance
Be
level,
tolerant, right.
it's going to be off for that child. And so the child is like, okay, so better than that, right? I seen people that come with their daughters and get married. And when they have a daughter with the person that they're with, they forget the other child. The other child becomes a non-person. So that's where I see the problem at. Like the other child doesn't who is not the biological of both parents has the struggle of always wanting to fit in. And this is the problem that I call it with stepchildren because of that, you know. So, I see it on those levels. I think that he was totally wrong for expressing himself that way and caused his own divorce by
I've
being
seen those examples as well.
there being
I haven't lived them, but I've seen them.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I could tell you, I sit there and watch, especially like when the like so the scenario I seen was when the woman and her child comes from another country and she marries here, and they have a daughter together, and the child becomes an American citizen. So they forget about the child that she brought over and gets treated. The other child gets treated like a stepchild, and the one that has the both biological ties gets treated better all the time. And it's blatant. You don't have to like guess. It's blatant, and you can see which one who gets all the love, and the one who has the both biological parents, she gets away with a lot more stuff, so she gets spoiled, while the other one is persecuted for everything she does. And you know what? They develop with that behavior, they develop the sibling rivalry between each other and the hate because of the way they treat those children.
Right. Someone feels like they get more out of the situation and someone feels like they get less. And someone feels unfairly, that is unfair, it's unequal, like you said. That's, I it's so hard because you can even have both the same parents and have situations which siblings feel like that. And
Oh
it's
yeah.
really like as I mentioned earlier, I would say it always starts, for me, all of this conversation, it really starts with the adults. It really starts with, you know, our accountability, our level of maturity and responsibility. Like we started out with the paternity, like you can't go goose. What is it? Good for goose is good for the gander type of situation where if you did it, I'm gonna do it, because there's some real serious consequences and somebody has to pay for it. And unfortunately, a lot of people pay for it, and they're innocent and they have nothing to do with it. Thus, what we see on TV when they're crying and trying.
Oh, it's horrible. It's horrible. I mean, it's real horrible when they try to fix those situations. And like I said, we this opens up another light where we need to look at step parents and the relationships and what's expected, especially for that first scenario that I showed with that guy. Yeah,
I really felt, even though he was really, I felt his pain and I felt his disappointment and his frustration. So it's always two sides of that. And it's always, I always try to tell people, if you could step outside of your perspective, if you can just lay down your perspective to hear somebody else's perspective, that way you have how you feel about it, you understand how they feel about it, and then you can make a decision based on all the information. But so often we hold to our, our perspective. And like you said, I understand her wanting to have her father there as well. Like, I'm not negating that, but just being able, how do we bring this all together? Because, this has to be somebody that's saying, even if you don't want to highlight that, we want to hopefully have enough intelligence, right? To be able to identify and see some of these things and be like, you know what? No, my father has not been here. I have been here with him. And that just, to me, that just speaks to, I don't want to say gratitude, but how you appreciate things like that. I know young people, they don't really, depending on her age, I don't really know her, right? But I know that young people, they don't just get taught they don't just walk up and know how to be grateful and be thankful and be able to see some of the things. That's a conversation. That's how we educate them, and we raise them like, look, this is what's going on. Yet, he's not that you're singing his praises or anything like that, but you're like, look, thank goodness for this and that. It's kind of like just being able to share that information. I'm not saying it right, but it's kind of like, how do you teach? That's what it is. Teach. You're teaching them how to appreciate and how to incorporate their environment and their community around them. No, she's not wrong for wanting her father. She is not wrong at all, no matter how messed up he is, no matter how much he disappoint her, no matter how much he fail, and no matter how much he do that, that is still her father. She has a right to have that. But at the same time, how do we include and how do we not, or at least have a conversation with this father and the stepfather and say, listen, I was thinking about having my father, my biological father, walk me down the aisle. I know you've been here for me, maybe kind of set him up. So it's just not like it just dropped on him and he's like, what? How did this come about? So I definitely see the different sides to it. So it's a whole lot there.
So I'm gonna say this, and I just, you gotta know that when you step into these situations, these things will happen. You can't just go blindsided and think that everything is gonna fall into your lap the way it's supposed to. There's too many different factors, there's too many different things that will cause people to do certain things. I feel though if you did it from the kindness of your heart, right? And you can overlook certain things because at the end of the day, you can't buy love. So just because you bought me a car and just because you paid for my school doesn't mean that I'm gonna fall eternally in love with you and forget my father. That's just not gonna, you can't buy. And it's not only the material things that count, although it's significant, but it's also the way you treat me and how I feel towards you counts a lot more. And I could tell in that relationship with that first one that he's probably very aggressive with her in certain things.
And maybe he thinks the money is what he needs. Like, I'm throwing you money. What's the big deal type of energy? Like I'm doing all of this. Like, that's enough. And not everybody's language is I'm gonna buy you something. Right? Not, I need you to tell me, I need you to show me. And even though, and like you said, the reality of it is it's still her father. We can't negate that fact. And she's not willing to bypass that. She's willing to incorporate him and she has every right to do that. But I just think in the whole process of all of that, in an inclusive environment where we can talk about it and understand, like, listen, because I don't care what nobody say. Yes, that could be your father, but if I'm doing all of this and I'm stepping up and I'm doing all of that, that's what anybody. If I could be a stepmother and I'm stepping up and I'm doing all of this, and then, at least communicate with me what your choice is. And so we can have a conversation about it where I don't feel blindsided and it just got dropped on me after I'm in thinking that I'm part of your family and I've done all of this for you and that I'm going to be included to be excluded. Like, you got to find a place for him in this whole situation. That's just my thing.
Yeah, I mean, I would really like to look into
You
like.
can't be having a wedding in my house and I'm paying for most of that and I'm not a part of it. Like, that just, like, he's doing, like, y'all, that to me, that I understand you can't bypass a father, but to me that's a level of disrespect because there should be conversation, communication, and everybody should be sitting down, her, the stepfather, and the mother, because he seems like he's playing a very active role in her life. He's not leaving it, like, he's really involved in a lot of different things, making sure things happen in her life. So to bypass him and to do all of that, and maybe the mother knew that maybe he would respond like that, but I mean, I don't know. I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
Listen, there's a lot to that situation and just that part that plays into the role of, I believe, the decision she made. Now, whether it was a right decision or not, that was all based on her and her lack of, I don't know, I don't know what to call it in that sense, because she just made a decision, I believe, based on emotion and excitement. You know what I mean? And wanting to, sometimes, kids want to win back their parents' love by whatever means necessary. It's not about, look at foster parents. They fight, take care of those kids, and a lot of them kids spend, after they grow up, spend their years searching for who their biological mother is. So I mean, and you hear so much stories about that. So it is
I
what it
know, and you're right. There's a lot behind the scene that we don't know about. But when, like we're talking about, when we have so many people out there in paternity court that are willing to walk away from their children, that are willing not to own and step up, and they can't even get Pampers and milk. These gentlemen, you got 4 years of college and you got all of this $40,000. And again, we're not saying that money can buy you, but I'm just saying, like, for people who are not doing that, your real father is not doing that. Somebody stepped up to support you and do that. in the community, we definitely had, that's a teaching. And you said, what was the word? It's a teaching. How do we teach how to handle situations like that? Maybe the mother didn't even know how to go about addressing that, but you can't, I mean, that's to me. And he's like, I'm willing to offer you all of this, my home, so we can do this, so you could do that. He's a part of it. He wants her to have this day. And I think
But
you
see,
still,
he kicked them out. He kicked the
I,
mother and the daughter out he kicked them out.
listen, listen, I'm not telling you he's wrong. I'm a woman. And I'm just saying, like, I'm saying from a part that I'm invested in you. And like I said, if this was done tactfully, like we said, the other guy did not use tact. If this was done tastefully and with tact, because you could see all the level of buy-in. He's not her father, but he just wanted to be included. I see both sides. She wanted to include her father. She loves her father. No amount of failure is going to make somebody not like him. No matter what you say about him, what you think about him, he's still mine, and I still want him invited.
Yeah.
He's saying, I've been all of this. Maybe I'm not trying to be your father. Maybe he was. I don't know. Who knows? But he's saying, I stepped up for you when you needed me, when you needed this, and when you needed somebody to be present. I didn't fail you. I showed up for you. I did what was needed in the moment. I am even willing in this special moment for you to extend and support you as much as I can by making this a beautiful and easy transition for you. You gotta, by all right, you need to have a conversation with him. As much as I believe in her right, and I think it's a matter of teaching that her environment, her community should have said, let's sit down and talk about this. This is what she's thinking. What are your thoughts? And maybe if they would have said, well, maybe can you incorporate me over here, or can I do this? Maybe there was a lot of ways to have a dialogue, and maybe he was in his feelings and his emotions, and he was probably hurt, and that was just his anger lashing out and responding. Because the man is hurt. I mean, let's be real. He's hurt. When we have so many situations where the father is not, and I can imagine his hurt and his pain. And I'm not a father to have an absent father. And again, I'm not trying to be your father, but I'm stepping in, and you could count on me. And for you to be just to discard me just like that, I'm just saying.
Okay.
That's just my opinion.
No, no, no. I mean, this is just interpretation. So we all got, that's why I brought the other side of it. So it's definitely things to look at. So I think we do need to do a segment on step parents and the risk and stuff like that. And is it actually effective or it's not effective? You know what I'm saying? Because the more I look at these stuff, especially when you look at paternity court and you look at these things, it's like, wow, you know what I mean? Wow. You know, like,
We didn't even really touch upon the fact of the paternity court when they have all of these different variables in the mix of that's not the father, that's not the father, that's not the father. And then we got to
oh,
go, is there one more possible person?
listen, there was a case where the mother brought two people in and none of them was the father. And she didn't remember who else could be the father. You know what I'm saying? Like, and you sitting there, right? And you talking about there's a lot of things, especially okay, so there was two cases, but I'm gonna talk about this one case where the mother had her OnlyFans and they was doing paternity and they was explaining about that and this and that became a factor of destroying the relationship and yada yada and mother said I could do what I want, you know what I mean, whatever the case might be, and this is how whatever. And you see like a lot of the technology is creating nuances that is creating a lot of effects on how kids are dealing with a lot of situations. Apparently, and they was talking about it too, in the paternity or whatever the case might be, the court case, or how the kids was bothering them at school and all of that stuff, and whatever the case might be, you know. And like I said, you see a lot more cases, especially with the nuances of technology, where a lot of things is just getting blurred, and where do you stop and what do you do, So, I mean, this is the more things like we like to look into because it's causing further dysfunction in the family. And that was my thing. The the more unstable the parents are, is the more unstable the family is as a whole, and the more dysfunctions you find, right? So, you know, I, and it doesn't correct itself because a lot of times most of those kids that are in those permission positions are in what we call survival mode. When they come out, they don't even know that it's affecting them like that, or it's affecting their relationships, or just them affecting them socially and how to interact with people, what triggers them. And sometimes this, a lot of times they still reliving their moments of these tragic situations. So it's definitely things to think about.
It's so interesting. You're right. When you see people in survival, right? They reliving situations that they're no longer in. The trauma hasn't left them. They're still holding on and they're still living in this trauma, and they're not. It's definitely something. Definitely, I see that all the time, and I see that the mind is going in. It's on a wheel. It's on a circle. Like I can't get off of this because I'm so busy trying to survive, and you're already out. Physically you're out, mentally and emotionally we're still trying to get you to that place, and so it's so difficult. But you said something that was really interesting. You said that when you have when individuals are unstable, you create instability in the family structure, and that is so true, and I don't think we think about that. And again, it goes back to talking about how, whether or not we are healed, how we manage, how we process, where we're getting our information from, and the root of the foundation of our information, right? How do we handle? What do we see? How do we process? Like what is important? How do we live? What are our morals? What are our character? Like all those things play into that.
That's what I'm saying. A lot of stuff play into it. But the thing is, how do we heal from it? You know what I'm saying? And like another, like I said, I seen some. I didn't get to talk about a lot of the cases I wanted to so on paternity court and how it deals with dysfunctional families, and why the paternal, or the patriarch, or the male structure in the family, how it identifies and creates stability in the structure. Now,
Mhm.
talking from a thing, the girl said, I wanted to know my father, even though he rejected me and put me in a foster care, because I want to know why I act the way I act, and why I do what I do, and the purpose of doing what I do. And that is a major thing, you know? So these are things that I wanted to look at and wanted to talk about. I think we need to do a part two though, and
We're
lots.
gonna have a part two. We're gonna have a part three. As long as our community, as far as I'm concerned, a lot of our community is in crisis. They don't understand the dynamics of being healthy and whole for themselves, and they certainly don't understand what that looks like in the family structure. So as long as this is a crisis, we will be on our post doing what we need to do.
All right, yeah, I think this was a very healthy conversation. It brought out a lot of things that we need to look at, you know? So again,
I am.
yeah, I hope you
Well,
enjoyed.
this was a wonderful conversation. I thank you for this. What you saying?
Yeah, I hope you enjoyed this one because this brought a whole different perspective on dysfunction and the family and how we relate. You know what I mean? And how we, both of us, relate differently.
Anytime we're talking about the family, anytime we're talking about healing and wholeness, I don't want to say I'm in heaven, but I always, for me, because I feel like one of the things that I used to do, are we still recording?
No, no, I'm not. I'm gonna knock it off now.
So I used to